Hey you folks, Cool18 here, and welcome to a special midweek live stream for Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth. It is early in the morning, so my voice might be a little I have recorded two full Let's Plays of Beyond Earth pre-release, and they are currently being enlivened on the YouTube right now, but I wanted to do a sort of a tutorial-y Q&A kind of thing for people who might be a little bit lost about the new game. So I'm doing a live stream, which is why you get to see my gorgeous face. There's also going to be some distractions as I answer questions from the chat. So the idea is people can ask me chat questions about the game, and I'll try to answer them as we go through, especially as a way to kind of explain what's going on in the live stream, or the Let's Plays. I think the Let's Plays are still generally the best way to learn how to play a game. But I guess you still sometimes need a tutorial for what the game is, which is what this is over here. So here we are at the main screen. I do have the music turned on, although you can't hear it here. I did not want to have the music on for the pre-release Let's Plays because I had to know for sure they were going to work properly on a release day. Apparently the music should hopefully be fine in this game as opposed to Civ 5, which everything gets flagged on YouTube and so incredibly annoying. So we'll cross our fingers, so this will partially be a test of that. This is the full game, but this is the press build. If we look down at the bottom, I am running on version 1.0.0.574. When the game is actually released, which at this point is only a few hours away, it is possible you will have a different version than this. And while I will say I've had a huge amount of fun with this game, I'm really enjoying it. I will be playing a lot of Beyond Earth, either recorded or not recorded. I'm still going to play a hell of a lot of it. But there are definitely a few issues in the build that I'm going here. I don't think I've gotten a crash or anything yet. I find the AI is a little on the weak side. There is one particular glitch with the AI that I have seen as well. And I think the user interface could use a little bit more work here and there. But the only reason I never say bad things about games. I only ever criticize games that I really, really love, because if I don't like a game, then I just don't bother. So the fact that I'm saying anything negative here implies that it's pretty darn good game. I've really certainly been having a lot of fun with it. But again, I'm hoping that the version you guys get your hands on will hopefully be have a slight version bump from this. Because again, remember, this press version is a few weeks old, and usually the way that these things go with the press version is they do sort of a freeze. They take a version of the game, they freeze it at a certain point, they debug it a bit to make sure it doesn't crash, and that's what they send to the press. And then they sort of keep working on the game, but they don't want to send the press a version of the game that's still actively being worked on, and, you know, might change, break their saves, do all kinds of stuff like that. So, fingers crossed you guys will have a slightly different version than I do. So, let me go and embiggen my little screen over here. What's the big difference between Civ 5 and Civ Beyond Earth? Well, the big difference is obviously we're playing on an alien planet, and it is the future, and that really informs a lot of things. Mechanically, there's going to be a lot of little differences. A lot of the core hexes are still there. Cities basically work the same way. The basic resources in terms of food production, science, culture are still there. It's called energy instead of gold. That's the same. The big difference is there's fewer types of units. Affinities have been put in, and there's no tech tree, it's a tech web. Also, no luxury resources, which caught me off guard to start off with. This is the game setup screen. You can choose the difficulty. I'm going to be loading it up on Apollo, which is the hardest difficulty. My second Let's Play is on Apollo. The first one is on Soyuz, which is basically immortal. My second Let's Play is on Apollo, which is basically deity. Game pace, same options as Civ 5. We're going to leave it on standard. Map size, same-ish options as Civ 5. Do note, because there's only 8 factions in total, that the difference between standard and massive, both of these have 8 players, which is the number of factions that are actually in the game. So massive is 8 players with a lot more space between them. It's like playing on a huge map, but instead of going with 10 or 12 civs, just leaving it at 8. I'm going to leave everything standard for this first go-around, so we can talk about that. And we'll take a look at the 8 factions. So that has a lot of people concerned. Only 8 factions in the game. This means you do see fewer faces, right? You kind of know what faces you're going to see in the game, but it doesn't mean there's fewer options in terms of your starting circumstances. In fact, there's quite a bit more, because there's 8 factions, but there's 4 different categories that you have to choose from for your starting circumstances. So you got 5 times 5 times 5 times 8, so 125 times 8 different combinations, so over 1,000 different starting combinations, right? And that's a pretty good number. And in fact, it's kind of interesting. Your designated sponsor, which is this thing, which is sort of your faction or whatever, almost has less of an impact than some of the others, which is weird. Kind of hard to see. So, questions so far on the screen. We can talk about all the different factions at this point. No luxury resources, but how will we then distinguish the upper class? Well, Geek Star, that's an excellent question. I will point out that when you choose what colonists you leave with, you can choose aristocrats if you want. So, you can have your flavor text in there. A marathon, massive, hardest difficulty. Go big and go home. I especially at this point, I'm definitely going to keep it on standard, but we'll probably bump up to a higher thing. Maybe that's one of the things we can do on the weekend. Because I find that it takes slightly longer between turns than in does in Civ 5. I'm a little bit concerned about going marathon massive, but we'll see how it goes. Again, I'm working the pre-release build. That's exactly 1,000. It is exactly 1,000. Yeah, see? Don't do math on live TV, kids. It's always bad. I assume there will be more sponsors added at some point. And I really am hoping for it because extra flavor would be nice. I'm sure there will be at some point. We'll see exactly how that works. No Brussels. No, the closest we can get is Franco-Iberia. Did you already turn off battle animations in Let's Play? Yeah, I think I dabble with it. I start with it off and then I turn it on and I'm like, no, it's too slow. And then I turn it off again. I just can't do it. The battle animations are really, really nice. I just can't sit here and watch all that. Ain't nobody got time for that. All right. They have, Sir London makes a good point. They've removed the heart of Civ, the history. And as one of my concerns with the game is that it might resonate with people as much because with the classic Civs, what you're doing is you're trying to copy something that you know about. Oh, you want to play as such and such a person. You want to play as Napoleon, or you want to reproduce the Aztec Empire or something like that. And also the tech tree is understandable. You kind of know how it's going to progress. You're just a lot more lost. But that being said, Alpha Centauri, which is basically what this is a kind of a sequel to, is widely considered to be one of the best 4X strategy games ever made. And so despite that, you do gain a little bit of extra story and a little bit more of a what if factor in here, which is kind of interesting. All right. So the factions or the sponsors, we have the ARC, that's the American Reclamation Corporation. They are better at spying, the covert operations, which are really interesting. The spying is much better in Beyond Earth than it is in Civ 5, much more interesting. The Pan-Asian Cooperative, who just subscribed. Hello, Denny233, thanks for subscribing. Really appreciate the support. I will point out that I'm currently fundraising for the Extra Life Sick Kids charity as well. We will be doing a marathon this Saturday starting at 8 a.m. Eastern time. So if you want to make a donation there, it would be greatly appreciated. I think I actually failed to have a link to the donation thing right on the screen, which is kind of weird. I may have been getting spammed a little bit from time to time. Let me actually put it in the title. That would be a good idea. So if you guys would like to donate to Sick Kids, we're trying to reach our goals to make people's lives a little bit more awesome. Let me add that to the title. Donate to Sick Kids. And apologies to anyone who's watching this on the YouTube after the fact. All right. So, the Pan-Asian Cooperative gets 10% production boost towards Wonder and a 25% worker speed boost. Thanks for subscribing, Syrian8. Appreciate that. The 10% boost towards Wonders, I think, very much like Civ 5, Wonders are going to be something you mostly build at lower difficulties, but it is a little bit easier to build Wonders in Beyond Earth because it's not a linear tech tree. You can go off in different directions, and it's easier, it's less common for all of the civilizations, all of the factions, to end up with the same technology to build the same wonder, so you can produce wonders more consistently on higher difficulties, especially if you sort of beeline one of the later techs, because the AI will usually get the cheaper, easier techs, your baseline techs. You do sacrifice a lot for doing that, but it might be worthwhile, so nice for that. The 25% worker speed boost, that is golden. That is really, really good. Franco-Iberia, you get a free technology every 10 virtues. Virtues are the new social policy if you're used to Civ 5, and so Franco-Iberia gets a free tech every 10. If you do focus a fair amount of culture and hunt, a fair decent number of virtues, you should be able to get 2 technologies out of that. And A, free technology is always good, but B, you know when you're going to get your 10th virtue. So you can set it up so that you've just unlocked all the requirement for a really expensive tech and then take that one for free. So you can sort of slingshot a really expensive tech, which is nice. The Slavic Federation. They get orbital units stay in orbit 20% longer. So there's satellites you can launch in Beyond Earth. You put them in space over an area and they do stuff. They can give you more military strength, more food, more production, more science, or they can be giant orbital lasers that just explode things on the ground. There are no nukes in Beyond Earth. Instead, you get giant orbital lasers. And actually, I think they're more fun. nukes are crazy chaotic, and especially with an actual nuclear missile, you can nuke someone halfway around the world. You can't really do that with the orbital lasers. But they're a little bit less just random, coming out of nowhere. All of a sudden, your city gets nuked 3 times in a row. But they can still have a huge impact on battle. But the orbitals can be sort of counteracted. You can see them. You can actually move in with artillery and like bombard them out of orbit. And so I think it makes for better gameplay overall. You'll note that the first time they launch a satellite, an orbital, the Slavic Federation will also get a free technology. Now, so that's only 1 technology versus potentially 2 with Franco-Iberia. But again, you really have to hunt the virtues. 1 for sure, probably 2. The Slavic Federation, this free technology will usually kick in a lot sooner because you will be able to research and build your first orbital before you get to 10 virtues. Also, a lot of times as you go around in the goodie huts, you will often get a free satellite quite early in the game. Now, that means sometimes your free tech ends up being one that's relatively cheap. No Hummus Can Hold Me, great name. Thanks for subscribing. Which may or may not be good because you can slam in a really early technology that way, and sometimes that's really good, but sometimes it means you're not saving up for one of the really expensive ones. Polystracic gets more trade routes in the capital. Trade routes are unbelievably good in Beyond Earth and work differently from Civ. We'll definitely be looking at that, but basically, whereas in Civ, you get an empire-wide limit of trade routes, so you might have like a max of 3 trade routes, period. In Beyond Earth, once you build a trading depot in a city, that city has 2 trade routes. So you can have 2 trade routes in every city. And in fact, you can end up with more than that depending on other things that can happen. And trade routes are extraordinarily powerful. They still give you money and science, but internal trade routes give you tons of food and tons of production and are really, really, really good. So having 2 extra in the capital is really amazing because you'll get a lot more money in science, or you'll get a lot more growth and production, which is really excellent. Just 2509 says, maybe that's why India isn't making an appearance. Why bother if you can't nuke anyone? It's a good point. It's an excellent point. The Kavithan Protectorate, they get new tiles twice as fast. Now, if you're used to Civ 5, the idea that cities get tiles twice as fast should make sense. But the outpost might be a term you're unfamiliar with. Basically, in Beyond Earth, when you settle, when you bring a colonist somewhere and you create a city, you actually don't create a city directly. You create an outpost, which starts off with just basically 1 tile. And then every X number of turns, it picks up another tile adjacent to itself. And then once it picks up all 6 tiles adjacent to the outpost, only then does it become a city. So expansion is a little bit slower that way. But with the KPs, the Kavithan Protectorate, they get them a lot faster. Finally, we've got Brasilia, which gets a plus 10% strength in melee combat. Very, direct. Doesn't matter if you're attacking or defending, as long as it's melee, so it doesn't affect range, but obviously a very, very potent ability for a warmonger. And then finally, you've got the African Union that gets 10% more food in cities as long as you're healthy. Healthy is the new happy. So instead of happiness, there's healthiness in Beyond Earth. But basically, it works exactly, it basically works the same way. The more cities you have and the more people you have, the more unhealthiness you have. You can combat the healthiness with buildings. But one of the interesting things is that going into negative happiness is not quite as crippling as it is in Civilization. In fact, early on, you'll probably spend a fair amount of it in negative happiness, and it's actually okay. It's not so bad. Xbeer, this is the press release. KP is India. Yeah, KP is basically India-ish. Hard to say, based on the look of things. The ARC is thematically very sort of American corporation and freedom and stuff like that. Although, if I recall correctly, the leader of the ARC actually says "Hola" to you, so it acknowledges that, hey, maybe Mexico is part of America. I don't know, could happen. So, which one do people want me to pick for this little demo here? I'm curious to see. No happiness, only healthiness. Thanks, Obama. Yes, this is the natural conclusion of Obamacare. Happiness doesn't matter anymore. It is health in terms of psychological health as well. Quite a few of the things that make these cities healthier are things that effectively make them happier, improves their morale. I say do the Pan-Asian Cooperative, says Baby Hippo Gaming, Africa, ARC. I'm not going to do the ARC or Franco-Iberia. Franco-Iberia is my first Let's Play, and my second Let's Play is actually the ARC, so we're going to skip that. We could do random. All right, I'll straw poll it. Good suggestion. We'll straw poll. Which faction? Keeping in mind, I'm going to drop out those 2. So we got the PAC. We've got the Slavic Fed. We've got Polystralia, also known as the Commonwealth of the something. We've got the KPs. We've got Brasilia, and we've got the African Union. If I can spell, create poll. Grab this, grab that, paste into chat. Vote. Yeah, because it's too hard to tell which one we should pick. Well, Slavic Federation is winning. Actually, who I was planning on probably doing for my next Let's Play. This, I may still do it in an actual Let's Play, or this may replace the Let's Play. We'll see how it goes. Actually, what this might be is, well, no, we'll probably do another vote to see who we play on Saturday. Looks like the Slavic Federation is going to win easily. And that'll be interesting because it'll encourage us to show off the orbitals. So we're going to take the Slavic Federation. Orbitals stay in orbit 20% longer, which is quite nice. They do have very long duration, like 30 or 60 turns. So the 20% boost is a huge amount of boost. Next, we have to choose our colonists. So this gives us a bonus in every city. Not for every, like, person, not for every population, but every city will get one flat bonus. So if you do want a lot of early expansion, grabbing the artists or the aristocrats for the extra health is actually really, really nice because it'll offset having multiple cities. The +3 energy, that's quite a bit of money. +2 culture is really nice. I like comboing, well, in my Let's Play, you saw Franco-Iberia, which needs virtues. I was like, well, I'm going to pick artists, obviously, because then I get more cultures, which means more virtues, which means more tech. I suspect that scientist is going to be one of the strongest picks. It's hard to tell, though. More food is amazing. More production is amazing. This is quite a bit of energy, and the health is amazing. This culture is amazing. They're all pretty damn good. I might just random this one. Actually, no, you know what? We're going to go with science because we could maybe show off a few more buildings in this thing because it's not going to be a full game. So if we get the science a little bit higher, some people want random, but yeah, we're going to go ahead and take that. Next is our spaceship bit. Okay. The first thing you need to know in Beyond Earth is you don't start with a settler. Instead, you see a bit of the world and you can choose where your spaceship lands, and that's where your city gets founded. So your spaceship can affect some of that. First of all, the Continental Surveyor shows you all the coastlines on your mini-map, which is really, really valuable. Actually, I guess on the map itself, which is really valuable if you're playing like an island map, right? An archipelago type map. Other than that, yeah, strikes me as one of the weakest. But archipelagos would be really nice. Retrograde Thruster is probably my favorite. It gives you a much bigger visibility when you start, and you get a bit more of an area where you can place your initial city. Really, really, really sexy good. The other one, which is also pretty strong, I think, is the Tectonic Scanner. So in Civ 5, there are resources like iron, coal, uranium, oil, that you can't see until you get a certain technology. 3 of those also exist in Beyond Earth. So in Beyond Earth, there's basic resources. You'll see things like chitin or fruit or fiber. These are basically like your wheat, your copper, your gems. You can see them from the start, and they improve the terrain a bit. And you can build a specific improvement on top of them, like a plantation or a paddock, and that improves them even more. They don't give you anything. They don't give you happiness. They don't give you health. They don't give you any sort of military resources towards your units. They just make that tile be better. There's those. Then there's 3 super special resources called Phyrexite, Floatstone, and Xenomass. Those 3 are needed for the late game unique units for different factions. You can see those 3 from the start of the game, which is really important because you sort of judge which affinity you're going to go for based on what kind of stuff. You got a lot of Floatstone around, you'll probably go Purity. You got a lot of Xenomass around, you'll probably go Harmony. You've got a lot of Phyrexite around, you'll probably go Supremacy. You don't have to, but the unique units that get unlocked in the late part of those affinities need those specific resources. And then we've got the last 3 here: the petroleum, the geothermals, the titanium. These are the only resources you do not start the game being able to see on the map. You need technologies to be able to see them. They do come quite early, but you do need the technologies for them. The titanium is needed for a couple of military units. Geothermals are needed for a couple of building types. And petroleum is mostly needed for satellites. And petroleum and titanium are mostly needed for satellites. Because we're playing the Slavic Federation, I think the tectonic scanner makes sense. We want to see the petroleum and the titanium early so we can grab it so we can launch satellites. Fusion reactor, start with 100 energy. In my mind, this just means you get to buy a worker faster. And that's not bad. And finally, a life form scanner that reveals alien nests on the map makes it a little easier to avoid some aliens, basically barbarian encampments. I'm not convinced this one's a particularly strong pick. I really like the tectonic scanner, retrograde thrusters, and maybe the fusion reactor. RTW314, thanks for subscribing. So we're going to go tectonic scanner over here. And then finally, we get to choose our cargo, which gives us a slight starting boost. +1 population. The pioneering technology, which is required for, you need this to build colonists. Until you get this, you can't build a colonist. Raw materials starts with a clinic in your city, which gives you +1 science, +1 health, and gives you a quest that can give you another science or another health. Weapon arsenal, which starts you off with a soldier, and machinery, which begins with a worker. In my mind, the hydroponics and machinery are probably the absolute strongest. Sometimes the laboratory. It's possible that if a rapid expansion strategy is viable in the game, then laboratory might be really, really good. But I really think that one of these two is the strongest. That being said, because we do get to see where our starting resources are, we might want to start with laboratory so we can rush out a colonist so we can go and claim some petroleum really fast. I don't know. Well, let's do another, let's do a straw poll over here and see what people might want. Cargo. Hydroponics. Laboratory, which I can't spell. Laboratory. Raw materials. Weapon arsenal, machinery. Create poll. Grab this. Grab that. Vote. There we go. Again, if you're looking for faster gameplay, just go and watch the Let's Plays on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Will18. The purpose of this stream is to be very tutorial and explain all the things. Vote. Click the straw poll link and vote. Machinery is in the lead, followed closely by laboratory. Interesting. And then hydroponics. And I mean, I probably influenced the discussion by suggesting which ones I think are the strongest. But I don't know, people are pretty smart. Looks like machinery is going to win out, and I think that's fine. Being able to improve terrain but is almost as good, in my mind, as starting with an extra population. Because you have slightly fewer people here, but they're working better tiles right from the start. And actually, if you improve a food tile right from the beginning, you'll quickly catch up in population, maybe even pass the people who started with hydroponics. So machinery is going to win. Laboratory was second. Interesting for a rush technology, but we're going to go ahead with machinery. And finally, you choose your planet. So you've got basically Terran world, Pangea world called Protean, Atlantean world, which is your archipelago. There's an explicit archipelago, medium and small islands, whereas this one is world of islands of varying sizes with narrow water passages, which is sort of a cracked world. Is more equatorial. Don't know. Skirmish and multiplayer map that's I think more balanced, and Tagan Cold World. These are the scripts that are currently available in the press release. I've mostly been playing on Terran World. I'm curious to see maybe what people would want. I guess we'll do one more poll over here. World. Terran. Every time you play, the world names are randomly generated. Protean, Atlantean. Probably what we'll put in. I don't know. I'll put in the others. Archipelago. Equatorial. And I suppose if people want to see Tagan, we can try that as well. I'm going to leave off Skirmish. Linky. Votey. There you go. Let me know where you want us to play. And some people are saying random. I think if we do random, I think it's just from these three. If we go random. Hey, Defiler55, thanks you for subscribing. Thanks you. Terran is winning. It's got a pretty big lead over Tagan, which is number 2, and then basically tied for other things. So we're going to go Terran map. The most normal and default of all maps. There's also an advanced setup where you can fiddle with different things, but we're going to leave that out for now. Bit of a looting screen. We get a bit of flavor text for our particular leader. I do not know what is in store for us, but it is possible we will flourish without effort, or perhaps we will be set upon by monsters we can barely comprehend. Either way, I hope for peace, and through our superior weapons, my screen just went blank. I can still see it on the stream. And through our superior weapons, we will achieve it. All right. So here's what I was saying about the starting setup over here. Do note that there is a mini-map in the top right corner with a little eyeball symbol, and if you click on that, you can, and I think should, turn on the 4 things I had turned on. Resource icons, so we can clearly see icons. Artifact icons, so we can clearly see them once we find them. I personally like the hex grid. I think the world is prettier without it, but I like it for clarity. I'll play without it for now. And then finally, trade routes. I like to have the trade routes be super visible. So here's, because we didn't take retrograde thrusters, this is all of the world we can see at first, and then we can choose which tile to settle in from this red area. Normally we would have the full sort of big hex, but this lake is getting in the way. Now, and there's 3 Fraxite right from the start. We might go right into a Supremacy. I think I'm probably going to settle on the Plains Hill, which can eventually get the chitin, can get the Fraxite. If I moved over to the left, I don't think there'd be much of an advantage. Plus, we'd get some sea tiles, but we don't actually have access to the sea. Like, sea tiles are relatively weak. Settling on the coast is nice, though, because coastal trade routes are beautiful. So I think we're going to settle right in the middle. Yeah, the hill seems fine. So the fruit will give us more food, the fungus will give us more food, the chitin later will give us more production, and potentially more culture depending on what technologies you go. And the Fraxite is needed for the late game units and buildings, and the Fraxite mine gives us +3 science, which is fantastic. Okay. If we could settle right here, I would settle right here, but I can't. So I'm going to go ahead and settle there. We'll get the maximum number of ground tiles, which means with enough worker support, we will go and improve things as much as possible. I'm so annoyed my worker started in the stupid spot. Why couldn't it have started in the north? So, we start with an explorer unit. This is basically a scout. It's got a movement of 2 and is unimpeded by rough terrain. It's got a movement cost of 1 everywhere. The other thing to note, it's got expedition modules, which we can use to dig up certain expedition sites. I'm going to go and check out the land to the east, I suppose, here. We've got some tubers, which is more food. And we found our first goodie hut, which is a resource pod. Resource pods, you walk on them, and you get a bonus. It's different from an expedition site. We've also can see we've got some petroleum right away over here. Now, Krabost won't be able to reach this petroleum. Normally, you could not see it, but we took tectonic scanners, so we can. 7 is also quite a bit. We're almost certainly going to want to settle a city over here. I mean, the tubers are good for food. The fruit is good for food. There's also a coast over here. So we'll see how that goes. Settling on cities does destroy the resource, so don't do that. Even strategic resources, which you normally wouldn't do. We have to choose our first production. Worker, explorer, soldier, pretty straightforward. Clinic, again, gives you health and science. Also, every building you build in the game will then trigger a quest a few turns later that will allow you to choose a further bonus for the building. For the clinic, it will be an extra science or an extra health. For the Old Earth Relic, it will be an extra culture or no maintenance. I personally like to start with the Old Earth Relic to push out the borders and to start getting a cultural policy. In Civ 5, I would like starting with the monument if I'm not going tradition. If I don't go tradition first, I go monument first. There's something to be said about getting an expert explorer, though, to find more goodies and dig up potentially more satellites. I think I'm going to go ahead with the Old Earth Relic, though. I'm not going to pull every single move we do. We also have to choose the technology. So here we get to see the tech web for the first time, which is this thing. I know it might not look like there's a lot of technologies, but holy crap, there's effectively a lot of technologies. It's a lot more compact than in Civ 5. Also, because of the nature of the game, unlike in Civ 5, where by the end of the game, you're going to have like virtually every tech research. Maybe, you know, a couple at the end you haven't finished off yet when the game ends. In here, you're maybe going to have half. Maybe if it's a long game, you'll go up to like 2/3, but that is it. And part of the reason it's by design, because different technologies are used for different affinities. And so you're going to beeline, you're going to focus on the ones that are compatible with your affinity. So for example, we have Fraxite, which means we might go Supremacy, which means we'll mostly focus on the leaf text with the Supremacy affinity. And therefore, the ones with Purity or Harmony don't help us towards our primary affinity. They don't hurt us, but they're going to slow us down in terms of getting our max affinity. And if you're going for the quote-unquote science-type victories, you really need at least level 13 in your affinity. So you really have to spend a lot of effort teching up your affinity techs, which means what your affinity is will change your game considerably because, for example, if I go harmony, I'll get stuff, hey, more food from plantations. I'll get, well, the Rocktopus unit is different. What else we got? I'll get the Xenoform unit, that's my unique unit. I will gain, if I go harmony, I will gain the ability to clear out miasma. Miasma is like toxic goop on certain tiles. Well, my workers will be able to clear miasma, and the workers will also be immune to miasma. If I don't pick alien biology because I don't necessarily need harmony, the only way I can clear miasma is by launching miasmic repulsor satellites, which cost production and only do a certain area. So it's really, really interesting that the gameplay experience changes quite a bit depending on your affinity. So, the other thing I want to mention is there are branch technologies and leaf technologies. So the big technology at the top of these little clumps, these are referred to as branch technologies. They allow you to connect to different groups. So if I want to get to astrodynamics, I already have habitation. I start with that for free. That's what gives me workers and explorers and soldiers and relics and such. If I want to get to astrodynamics, I would have to research engineering. Then I would go to robotics or fabrication, then mechatronics, then astrodynamics. Actually, I suppose I could also go physics into robotics, into mechatronics, into astrodynamics, and so on. So those are the branch techs. They connect things. Leaf techs don't connect anywhere, and you can research them in any order. I have habitation, so I can research planetary survey or pioneering right now. And ultimately, I could research both if I wanted to. But note that they don't lead to any other tech. They don't unlock anything. Also, leaf techs are more expensive than branch techs. You can see power systems would take 50 turns. Engineering would take 19 turns. Normally, in a normal game, I would like to focus on the things that will reveal oil and titanium primarily, and geothermals to a lesser extent. Oil you can reveal by researching chemistry, titanium you can reveal by researching engineering. Now, we already can see those, but we can't actually work them. We need the technology to actually work it. So if I want to work that petroleum I've noticed, I need to research a petroleum well. I think for this game, with the setup we have, I think we're going to start off with pioneering. Pioneering is needed to build a colonist, also to get trade routes going, which are really, 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 really valuable. So I think I'm going to like that. Planetary survey is what you need to be able to embark your units, and also to improve algae and coral resources, which are in the water. You don't need to build workboats. It's just once you get planetary survey, your workers can go into the water, they can build on the algae, and then it doesn't consume them. They can keep going, so that's another different from Civ 5. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and move my worker onto, say, the fruit over here. We're going to build a plantation. Don't need a technology for plantation. We're going to start cultivating the fruit. And we've got a few other pop-ups here. Well, that was the resource pop. The other thing is the victories were updated. The victories aren't actually updated, it's just reminding me that I can check. There's a quest panel over here. We will get quests as the game goes on, but also we can track the victory here. This explains how you win. Domination, straightforward, conquer every other player's capital. And then the others are a combination of science and building stuff and defending stuff. There's no true science victory. It's kind of complicated. Contact is an alien contact thing that requires a few different steps that you have to do to start step one. I haven't actually done this victory condition yet, so I can't really talk about it much. The other three, Promised Land, Transcendence, and Emancipation, are all closely tied into an affinity. They all have different stuff. Promised Land and Emancipation both require that you start by launching a lasercom satellite. Then there's going to be some other steps. And Transcendence requires that you start by researching 3 technologies. All of them will involve you building a special wonder that actually exists on the map itself, which can be attacked and destroyed, which is really interesting. So you need science to get all the technologies, you need productions to build the wonder, you need a decent military to defend your wonder thingy. So it's kind of a combination of a bunch of different stuff, but they're actually really fun. More questions. Domination or Riot? Civ 5 without Brave New World is very meh. Yeah, one of the problems, of course, that you do have to remember with this game is that when Civ 4 came out, it was broken and was boring without the expansions. Then with the expansions and the patches, it became the most beautiful game ever made. Civ 5, when it came out, it was broken and it was boring without all the expansions. But with all the patches and with the expansions, it's now one of the most beautiful games ever made. Beyond Earth will probably be kind of samey. It's not as horribly broken. It's not like, it doesn't crash and doesn't lag because they use the same engine as a core from Civ 5. It's dramatically changed, but they started with the Civ 5 engine, so it's less buggy. I'm sure the balance won't be quite right to start off with, and certainly there won't be as much content as there will be once there's expansions, but anyway. Let's go ahead and skip to the next turn. I can micromanage my populace if I want. You can see here we're working the fruit by default, which is a perfectly fine tile. I can reposition. I can lock them onto a tile. I can reset it. I can tell it to focus on food, focus on production, focus on culture. Right now, it makes no difference because we don't have much in the way of interesting tiles, but you can manage your population. Questions. Yeah, Transcendence is harmony. Emancipation is supremacy, and Promised Land is purity. Those are the affinities that are associated with different things. Because they each need level 13 in their associated affinity to be able to do that. Affinities are interesting. They give you lots of different bonuses. They also unlock a lot of interesting units and buildings later on, so we'll be looking at that. So I'm going to construct the plantation over here. These are forest tiles as well, so it's actually going to chop the forest. Nice little animation there. The buzzsaw is going out. It's chopping down the forest first, and then I'll build the plantation. So I'm going to try to go to this goody hut. Notice there is some miasma in the way. It's kind of hard to see. It's actually one of the things that annoyed me a lot starting out. Now I can see it very clearly, but my first game, I could never see miasma. I constantly had to mouse over to see it, and I still do from time to time. If you end a turn in miasma, you're going to take 10 points of damage. Or rather, if you start your turn in miasma, you take 10 points of damage. So try to avoid doing that. We're going to move up over here. Again, we're going for this resource pod. We found some chitin over here. More petroleum. It's another 7. Okay, we've got all the oil we're ever going to need. Holy crap. I don't think this has ever happened. A little bit of tundra. And here, our first opponent has landed. So, unlike Civ 5, you do not all start at the same time. The AIs, by default, you can turn this off in the advanced settings. By default, the AIs land after you do, and you meet them as soon as they land, which is quite a bit different from Civ 5. The later they start, the more sort of extra bonuses they get to balance it out. It just, shakes things up a little bit, which is kind of neat. So, Franco-Iberia. Alpha Centauri was so good. That one guy, I agree completely. Got Civ 1 to 3, and 2 is the best out of those. 2 was very good. 2 is one of my favorites of Civ for a long time, but I think 4, to me, still super, super good. What happens if you settle on miasma? Great question. The miasma goes away. So settling on miasma is totally, totally fine. Swell 1978 says, I would like to see some Apollo twins with Marbazir and Quill 18. Oh, we're probably going to do something like that. Probably as soon as Celts Poland is done, I suspect we're going to do that, assuming the multiplayer works. Les Français, sacré bleu. Oui, certainement. Yeah, the Brusselians are here. So chances you'll be the oil tycoon of the planet. Yeah, and early on I won't need all this oil. I can probably sell a lot of it to the AIs. Anyway, let's pop this goody hut. Hey, got 50 energy. Nice. So energy's up here. Energy is the new gold. So 60 energy in the bank. We're making 5 per turn. You can see we're making 5 science per turn. Our health is currently at 5. While you're healthy, it's interesting. In Civ 5, being healthy didn't really, or happy didn't do anything for you other than accumulate points towards Golden Age. But here, being at 0 through 10, which is stable, we get a 20% speed boost towards outpost growth. If we actually increase our health even more, we can get further bonuses. And if we go negative, again, it's not quite as crippling as Civ 5. If you go from -1 to -10, you just get 10% less science. Actually, you might also get 10% less culture. And that's bad, but not crippling. If you go below 10, then you start to take a 10% production hit, and also spying is much more effective against you. And then as you keep going lower, the penalties get worse and worse and worse. But I think you have to go below 20 before you get a food penalty, for example. So, health not quite, negative health not quite as bad as negative happiness. So we got a quest update. Gifts from home. By popping that resource pod, we got a quest over here to find more resource pods. Now, it says find 2 resource pods, 1 found. I believe as soon as I find another one, it's going to change to say find 3 resource pods, 2 found. So again, in this press build, I think there's a slight glitch there. As far as I can tell, I don't think I've misinterpreted something. Oh, more fraxite and 7 fraxite. Okay, I'm going to loop around here to reveal this area, but I think it's pretty obvious that A, we're going to settle over here, and B, between 2 sources of fraxite, especially a 7 stack, they do go up to 9? There might even be 10s, I'm not sure. But in any case, we're clearly going supremacy. It's just way too good of a setup for that. Shouldn't your chaps die off if you're unhealthy? If you do go unhealthy, so you can imagine people are just taking sick days, that's why they're less productive. And if you do go really unhealthy, then eventually your food production or your growth effectively goes down. You can see here we ended a turn in miasma, so we took 10 points of damage. So that's not, terrible early on, but it's not great. Hey, we found a collection of goods and luxuries from old Earth, And we got 25 culture from that, which is actually going to be enough to develop our first virtue. God, this is going to be a great city location. Can this become a real Let's Play? I think it might. I will note that that unlike Civ 5, settling on a river, I don't believe gives you a trade bonus. So you don't really need to settle right next to rivers. I don't think there's any buildings that require being next to a river, like there's no water mills, for example. So in fact, it might be advantageous to settle off river a lot of the time, but we'll see how it goes. So our first virtue. So these are the social policies of Beyond Earth. You don't need higher technology to unlock different types of groups. There's just these 4 groups right now: might, prosperity, knowledge, and industry. But clearly they're much bigger, because in Civ 5, a social policy group would have like 5 or 6 social policies, right? So now we've got 15? Is it 15 in every one? I guess it is. So 15 in every one. You also don't have to beeline to the end as much, because there's not the same sort of end cap benefit that you would get in social policies in Civ 5, where if you complete every policy in a group, you get an extra bonus. Here, every X number of policies or virtues that you unlock, you get a bonus. For every 5 you unlock in a group, you get something. You get a synergy bonus. So in Might, you get plus 5% strength on all your units. For Prosperity, you would get 10% growth. Knowledge, you get 10% culture. And Industry, you get 10% energy. That's for the first 5. Then the next 5, there's another one. And then when you finally get to full 15, you get yet another benefit in there, which is cool. But going in all in one tree is not the only way to go, because there's also bonuses that affect you horizontally. If you get 6 virtues in the first tier, no matter where they are, you get another free virtue. If you ever get to 10 virtues in the first tier, you get 10% more production and energy in your capital. That's amazing! If you ever get to 15 virtues in the first tier, then you get a free technology. Shit, that's pretty good too. So now you've got choices. I could go deep, deep, deep into knowledge, or I might go something like 5, 5, and 5, get the first synergy bonus in all 3 of the groups, and we'd unlock the free virtue, the synergy bonus in the capital, and a free tech. God, that's pretty good. So it's pretty hard to pick. I don't know where people want me to go. Garbud says it's so much better this way. I agree. I think this is really interesting. I'm liking this so much better than the social policies in Civ 5. I will note there's no great people in Beyond Earth. That is one of the other big differences between this and Civ 5. No great people, because that ties into social policies quite a bit. Might, we're not gonna, might, we haven't even met any aliens. I think we're in a pretty alien-poor area of the world, so I think that might would be not particularly good for us. You get more XP from combat, which is good. You get more strength against aliens. Better production of military units. Starting with might in this situation would be stupid. I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. So, I mean, I know it sounds fun and everything. Sometimes you can start in areas that are just infested with aliens, in which case starting with might would be pretty goddamn strong. So I guess we'll straw poll it. With the exception, I am going to veto might, because I know people are like, oh, might. And that would be boring. That would be pointless. It wouldn't help us. Prosperity. I can't spell this morning. It's too early. La da 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 da. Cripple. Virtue poll. They're all good, is the problem. So first tick of prosperity gives 10% more food retained after a city grows, so your cities will keep growing faster. Foresight is 10% more science when healthy. What? So good. Although we will probably drop out of healthiness relatively quickly, especially if we're planning a rapid expansion. And industry is 10% more production towards buildings. Also super good. And that's just the first one, and then it just keeps going like crazy good. Tons more energy over here, more culture, science from expeditions. Faster outpost growth is great. Free worker. I mean, we already have a free worker, but honestly, 2 workers ain't bad. Faster tile improvements. A free colonist over here. So much good stuff. Looks like people are definitely leaning towards knowledge by quite a bit, so we're going to go ahead and get started on knowledge. And I do like it. Early on, we do have the... we are going to be healthy, so the 10% boost is there. Also, did we not take scientist colonist? Yeah, we have the scientist colonist type, so we're getting two extra science already, so the 10% is going to kick in. You do get fractional science. You can see here we're getting 5.5. It rounds it out to 5 in the display, but I think that 0.5 does actually assist. I hope it does anyway. Let's keep going. look at that. We're at 5 turns. We've only been recording for, you know, 45 minutes or so, and turn 5. I'm a sucker for walking on hills for extra visibility, so I'm going to do that and then come back down. And just try to spot this area out over here. We could really easily throw 2 cities in here instead of just having 1 mega city. There's also a lot to be said about settling on the coast. That being said, this area here, this bay, may actually be blocked in. There's ice over here, certainly. There might be ice over here, which means we couldn't actually get trade units in and out, which means the placement on the coast is a lot less valuable. Got a little bit of geothermals over here. Got some algae in the sea, which is a good food resource. Keep moving along. Keep on moving on. Lands on alien worlds, calls the natives aliens. Yes. Well, you know, I'm a human. What can I say? I think I'm going to go ahead and pop out another explorer at this point. I really do like to get my scoot on. Definitely don't need a soldier with no aliens around. So, we're going to do that. Are you kidding me? More fraxite. It's only a 3 stack, but still. God damn. And more petroleum. Now, we haven't found any titanium yet. Or titanium, as some people like to say. And we definitely are going to need some. I know I ended on miasma, but it gave me max vision. We are going to need some for our satellites. So, Oh, another down thing. And we found some floatstone. And more oil. That's only a 2 stack, which isn't going to be as critical. Although, building an oil well gives you a lot of production. It does give you unhealthiness, though. And that concept is, to me, a throwback to Civ 4, which I like quite a bit. What did we get? Hey, we get our first free, we get a satellite. So we found a free solar collector, and we can launch it. And by completing the gift, we also completed gifts from home, so we get 15 signs from completing the quest. Now, I could launch the satellite right away. This satellite here will, if we go into this mode, so 2 things. This blue outline is the max range at which I can launch my satellite. You can see I can't launch outside, but I could launch right over here. The green area represents every tile covered by the satellite. This satellite has a range of, I think they call it a range of 2. So it does its central tile and then everything adjacent. Or they may call it a range of 1, actually. Probably they call it a range of 1. And because it's a solar collector, every tile underneath the satellite will get +1 energy. Furthermore, if I cover the city in any way by the satellite, the city itself will get an extra 20% energy boost, which is really, really good. I'm not going to launch it right now. The reason is I only have a population of 2. I'm not going to get to take advantage of the satellite very effectively. Now, it does last, I believe, 60 turns. It doesn't actually tell me here. I'd have to go into the help. Solar collector. Solar collector. Oh, well. Oh, that's interesting. I think it lasts 60 turns, but I got the 20% boost. So it's calculating in the timer in the health page. That's really interesting. Oh. Alright, so yeah, it lasts 72 turns, which is a long time. My city will grow. But I'm going to wait a little bit longer. And especially, I'm going to wait until I've picked up my first branch tech so that I can get the follow-up tech for free. So, for example, I would like robotics relatively early because robotics are required for fraxite mines. A, it will unlock fraxite, but more importantly, like, it'll give us the ability to gain access to fraxite. But we don't really need fraxite early. We're not going to be able to take advantage of it. But fraxite mines give us +3 science, which is amazing. So after pioneering, I'm going to hold down shift. I'm going to queue up probably engineering. And then what I'm going to do is get robotics for free. Once engineering is done, I'll launch a satellite, get a free tech, I'll get robotics for free. It would be nice to get chemistry relatively early because we do want to work with the petroleum. Is there any reason we may want to prefer that route and pop one of these guys for free? Well, we will want neural labs relatively soon. Neural labs need to be built in a city that has fraxite, but gives us 10% bonus science, which is really amazing. I think this is the best way to go. And also, we need, I think we need improved fraxite before we can build a neural lab. So clearly we need robotics. And then we'll pick up chemistry so we can improve the oil, and then we'll figure out where we want to go from there afterwards. We might want ecology for the miasmic repulsors. We might want computing for spying and missile rovers and the gunboats as well. But a part of me thinks we might end up going genetics so that we can relatively quickly unlock cognition. We do need level 4 in supremacy before we can actually build that as well. So we're going to need some supremacy tech, so I guess we don't have to rush. Okay, I like this. What do you guys think? That's pretty good. Any other questions? Quill, will you upload the stream to YouTube? Most likely. What about city-states? There are no city-states, but there will be stations that appear later on. they work differently from city-states. Stations are basically just more or less passive things that you can send trade routes to. There's no friendship or alliance status at all. You can level them up by sending trade routes, and occasionally they will give you a quest to encourage you to build a trade route or to declare war against another station. Completing the quest will give you a reward, but there's no actual influence of city-states in this game. So the solar collector, I'm just going to have it fortified and do nothing for now. We cleared the forest, got some production back to Krabos, and we've got another neighbor. Open space. Beyond Earth any good? Yes, Beyond Earth, I'm really enjoying it quite a bit. How many nations can we play as? Again, there are 8 faction sponsors that basically determine your face here, but effectively there's 1,000, literally 1,000 different combinations for your starting setup. So depending on your perception of it, it's either 8 or 1,000. In terms of gameplay options, it's 1,000. In terms of, you know, who you want to look at, it's 8. Kvitha Thakur. I mean, how can you not like this look? It's fantastic. She's the new Catherine, you guys. So we can do some diplomacy and stuff, but early on you really can't. Oh, and we discovered our first station. So Farbase 1 has just landed over here. So if we were to trade with Farbase 1, our trade route would give us 2 energy and 2 science. But Farbase 1, which is right over here, and almost in the place where I want to settle. That would have been really annoying. You can see here, it'll also level up. If I send a trade route, the next trade route, so after the trade route completes, after 30 turns, and I get the option of resending it, it will then produce 4 energy and 2 science, and it's going to go all the way up to tier 3. So the bonuses do grow the longer you trade. If you do not trade with a station, it will eventually disband. So if a station is in an annoying place, keep in mind, just like cities, you can't settle within, you know, 3 tiles of a station. You can simply not trade with it. You could also go and attack it as well, which would be fine. We finished our explorer. I don't need to rush out another worker. We're good right now. I think I'm going to go ahead and get the clinic down for the science boost. We could pop out a soldier. And we will want a soldier to go and sort of guard the area over here. Pioneering is nearly done. I probably want to wait until size maybe 4 to build my first colonist. I think I'm going to go clinic and then possibly go soldier into colonist. We get another virtue as well. People already voted knowledge, so it certainly makes sense to keep going in that direction. Social mores gives us more culture, but right now we don't have a lot of population. Field research is really nice. You get 30 science from finishing expeditions, which are a different type of goodie hut, but we actually haven't discovered any of those yet. There we go, speak of the devil. Right over here, we've got a progenitor ruin. We can build an expedition on this tile. Unfortunately, it's got miasma, which is kind of annoying. We also found some titanium, not much. I'm tempted to go and spread things out a little bit. Maybe grab labor logistics. We are starting a building right now. 10% boost towards our buildings would actually be quite nice. I guess I could rerun the straw poll. I'm not sure. So our synergy bonus for completing knowledge is much more culture. Knowledge, going deep in knowledge really does help if you go quite tall. Get more population while staying happy. Creative class is good if you're happy. I think we're going to expand a little bit faster. To me, that strikes that maybe prosperity would be a better branch. But I'm also tempted to grab the first labor logistics one. You probably want it at some point because the 15% boost towards wonders is really, really, really sexy. A lot of people want industry. I'm going to go ahead and just grab labor logistics for now. It'll be fine. And it's fine. We can spread things out if we want. It's okay because we can go wide with our virtues. You can go tall with your virtues or wide with your virtues. Not much of an advantage. It's an advantage anyway. I do eventually want to explore this little bit over here, but I'm going to go and go southwest with the idea that I'll probably find more stuff. Oh, and that ate all my movement. I think, did we just finish our plantation? Not quite yet. We did complete pioneering, which actually makes me think rather than... Oh, hello, Brasilia. Sorry, I clicked away, so I didn't actually see where you landed.
In progress or an entropy. We choose progress.
So, pioneering unlocks the colonist, the trade convoy, the trade vessel, and the trade depot. Definitely going to talk about trade soon. So, rather than finish the clinic, because I don't need the health right now, and +1 science is pretty good, but I'm tempted to finish the trade depot first. Trade depot by itself gives you 1 production, but after a quest it'll actually give you 2. And I think I would like the extra production to help me finish my settler faster. So I'm actually going to go with the trade depot first. We're going to be okay. Pop up on this hill for vision. More Fraxite, because why not? It's only 2, but it's okay. More chitin. We really would like to find more titanium, though. Ideally, our third city will grab a bunch of titanium. Okay, our explorer over here. Ooh, there's also an alien wolf beetle. So we've met our first alien. Now, the alien will generally leave our explorer alone unless we're within 2 tiles of an alien nest. If we get too close to an alien nest, the aliens will attack us. They will aggro. Unescorted settlers and workers, the aliens will tend to kill. But anything with a combat strength, they will tend to ignore unless you aggro them, which you can do by attacking them or different things like that. Now, I do want to try to dig up this progenitor ruin. It is on miasma, though, which will do 10 damage per turn. I'm already slightly damaged. I'm actually going to have this explorer rest until he's fully healed, and then hopefully I can go dig that up. Different sort of ruins / whatever have different time to build an expedition. I'm hoping that we can build it in less than 10 turns, so that we won't die from the miasma. But we can always move off, heal, then go back and finish the job. We got a quest update. We got a quest to, well, found our outpost. First step, research pioneering. We've done that. Second step, build a colonist, and so on and so forth. So the quests act sort of as mini tutorials to encourage you to do stuff, but they do have rewards, so they're nice. I think this explorer. Okay, lots of aliens over here. I suspect there's a nest somewhere down here for sure. These are still just wolf beetles, which are relatively weak and squishy, but that's a hell of a lot of them. And they should leave my explorer for now. There we go. There's a nest. So if I end my turn here or here, that's within range of the nest. It's going to upset the aliens. So I'm going to come back for this resource pod a little bit later. I don't want to lose my explorer quite yet. Oh, and we've got a crashed satellite over here, which we can dig up, and that appears to be far enough away from the alien nest. Alien nest tends to appear on xenomass. And in fact, if you clear an alien nest, but you leave, but there's still xenomass somewhere, then the alien nest will sometimes respawn on there. All right, this explorer is fully healed, so we're going to move him down over here. It will take us only 5 turns to build this expedition. Excellent. So we're going to go ahead and dig that up. I'm going to go for the goody hut first, and then I'm going to go and grab this crashed satellite. Luckily, there's still no one near us. Brasilia is probably on the same continent, but quite far away. So that's good. We did discover another resource pod over here. Be mean, they will murder your arse of siege worms. Siege worms are brutal. They will one-shot all your units for quite a bit of time in the game. What are we posting links to over here? Oh, the tattoo! Dun, 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 dun. Aliens are barbarians on crack. Yeah. Yeah, the siege worms can one-shot a lot of units early on. There's more of them. But you can have sort of semi-diplomatic relations. You leave them alone, they will mostly leave you alone. Again, except for colonists and workers, which they will often like destroy if they're going around unescorted. Oh, there's some coral over there, which is unfortunately never really going to get worked. If we have moved over one, we could technically work it, but I still think that the more land-based start was fine. There's an interesting thing. If you can get an alien nest within your borders and you leave it alone for long enough, the aliens, right now their icons are green. The icons can eventually turn blue, and they will be completely peaceful to you, as long as you don't start any shit with them, which is interesting. And they might even help defend you if you're at war, which is kind of neat. So I popped that goody hut, yeah? I guess so. So now I'm going to go and construct the expedition, which is on miasma. This one, oh, will also only take 5 turns. That's good. I'm not sure what determines it. Sometimes it takes 5, sometimes it takes 10. It might have to do with the terrain. I'm not sure. So we've hooked that up. I guess we're going to go and get the fungus hooked up as well. We're working that tile. Extra food is nice. The aliens remind me of aliens in Factorio. Yeah. Or, you know, Alpha Centauri. Harmony Affinity can use alien units. Yes, that is true. And also, the first level of Harmony means that alien aggression levels return to normal twice as quickly. So if you are going to Harmony, usually it's kind of a weird thing. Usually if you're going Harmony, you might think, oh, I'm going to be friends with aliens. But the problem is, if you're going Harmony, you're probably starting somewhere with a lot of xenomass, which means there's going to be a lot of aliens and a lot of alien nests, which means you might have to fight them earlier. But on the bright side, they go back to passive relatively quick. So that's good. First level of Purity is one of my favorites. Aliens will not attack tiles with Explorer units. Love that. Which means Explorers can safely dig up expeditions next to alien nests, for example. So even if I'm not going to go Purity, a lot of times I might grab the first level of Purity. Just because. Awesome! What affinity is Quill going after? Probably Supremacy. We have Pharaxite coming out of our ears. So, I suspect so. Oh, there's Central. The ARC have landed. Hola!
How may the corporation serve you?
Give me all your things. Next turn. Expedition completed on the Progenitor Ruins. Ah! We got tech towards field theory. So if we go and take a look at our tech web, right, tech web. Field theory will be one that's quite far. There we go. Right over here. It's quite a deep tech. It always is towards a very deep tech when you dig up technology like that. But it gave us 500 science towards field theory, which right now we're making 7 per turn. That's a lot. Obviously, later on in the game, we're going to be making quite a lot of science, to the point where 500 science might be barely more than 1 turn worth of science, but it's still good. Now, you'll notice my Explorer has 0 expedition modules left. He can no longer perform an expedition like this. We can still open goodie huts. I'm going to try to move down here. Hope there's no nest. Okay, I'm not next to a nest. I'm going to wait here. Hopefully they move away from this resource pod, and then I can leave. Note that aliens do provide the zone of control penalty, so I'm only able to move 1 square because I moved adjacent from an alien to an alien kind of thing. Same thing here. I'm just going to be able to move 1 square. I'm going to hope that there's no nest nearby here, because if there is, they're going to attack my Explorer and definitely kill it. Of course there's a nest. I knew there would be. We got some more culture, which is nice. And yeah, we are stuck here. They will probably just destroy my Explorer, which is sad. Oh, Brazilian Explorer. We actually beat them to the this crashed satellite, which is nice. Remember, we still have our satellite here. Now, this crashed satellite may or may not give us a satellite. Usually it doesn't. But I suppose it's possible, to the point where we're 1 turn away from completing this expedition. I might want to go ahead and launch my satellite right now. No, we haven't completed engineering yet. So, I have to hope it doesn't double it up, because otherwise it might go to waste. So, I'm going to go ahead. We finished our trade depot. I'm going to go ahead and build my soldier at this point. And then we'll probably put out the colonist after that. We're just going to have the soldier escort things over to here. Another virtue. I don't think we need more energy. Oh, field research. Let's grab that right now. Because while we didn't get it in time for the first expedition, as soon as this expedition finishes, the field research will give us 30 beakers for free. So it'll give us effectively like 4 point something turns worth of research right now, which is a really, really nice thing. Obviously, late game doesn't give you quite as much, but still handy. So we completed the expedition. We got 80 production from completing the expedition on the satellite, which is good. We also got the 30 science from our virtue, which means we complete engineering now, which is awesome. Yeah, we did lose our Explorer as expected. That's kind of sucky. And we could go and launch that satellite now, so that we can unlock robotics right away. We don't technically have to rush robotics, but we may as well, just to start getting the extra energy. Now, I can choose where I launch the satellite. I don't have to launch it centered on the city. I certainly want to cover the fruit and the fungus, because I'm going to be working those, which means this sort of placement or to the south. But I guess it doesn't really matter too terribly much. I think I'm gonna go with this placement, so not on the lake, because I don't know how much the lake gives us. Actually, the lake's not too bad. It gives us slightly more food. You know what? I will place it centered on the city. So watch our energy has pumped up quite a bit. Get a little bit of a space-based view over here, and there we go. We got our first free technology. So I will go and grab robotics for free.
Robots do not complain, question, or rest, which makes them good role models for the rest of you.
Football coach, I can stream the press copy because the embargo was lifted today at 8 a.m. Eastern time. So expect lots of videos from lots of people on the interwebs. All right. What difficulty is this? This is Apollo difficulty, which is the deity difficulty, max difficulty. We're playing on Terran map. You know if this will have Steam Workshop integration on launch? I believe it will. I believe it will have the same mod support as Civ 5. I can't guarantee it's on launch. I mean, I have nothing to do with the game, obviously, but... Anyway, alright, we have finished our... did we finish a soldier, really? Already? I'm still hoping to wait until size 4 to build my settler, just because it usually gives you slightly faster production. We could squeeze out an auto plant right now for some more bonus production. Well, we couldn't quite squeeze it out. We could finish the clinic. Oh, right, we got the 80 hammers. That was what was going on there. You know what? Let's go into the colonists. That way the extra hammer or production overflow from that satellite will go towards the colonist production. Or will it? Maybe it won't. 8 turns. Now let's just rush out the colonists now. It'll be fine. Quest decision. Alright, so remember I said for every building you produce, you get a quest soon afterwards. So we can choose whether our relics will be free of maintenance, so basically effectively giving us +1 energy, or whether it will give us +1 culture. I tend to like the +1 culture, so I'm going to do that. I personally value culture as slightly more than energy, so there we go. I'm going to do that. So now we're going to get our next virtue even faster. Yeah, we lost that unit. We salvaged wreckage. And this soldier needs orders, so I'm going to go and have him, for now, just stand on a hill over here. Give us some vision, because we still want to send our settler in that general direction. I would like to get this crash satellite, but the aliens will attack me if I do so, because it's next to a nest. So I think I'm just going to walk away for now. Brazil might go for it. Lots of fiber over here. A little more floatstone, yeah. A little here, a little there. Decent city spot here with lots of nice resources. Up through here, we'll end up on miasma, but lots of silica. Silica is nice because you do get extra science when you improve it with the mine. I mean, the mine itself gives you extra production, but mine on silica gives bonus science. Okay, we got a quest to choose what the next station will be. We can either have the Church of Dawn's Light, which gives food and culture for trade routes, or Adept Blue, which gives food and science. I think I'm going to go for Adept Blue. I could do a vote, but it's not quite important enough. Okay. I was really worried that they were going to drop over here, where I want to settle. Now, the neat thing about stations is because you can't settle too close to them, they can actually act as a great buffer between you and the AI, as long as they stick around. So you send trade routes to them so that they stay alive, and then the AI can't settle anywhere near here. Neither can you, but you can always choose to attack them. Yeah, the AI can as well, but so far they don't seem to be that aggro towards stations, so it's just kind of nice. In any case, doesn't interfere with our plans quite yet. This worker, I'm going to go right ahead for the chitin, get that improved. Next turn. Does resource give health? No, there are no resources on the game board that provide a health bonus. So there's no luxury resources like in Civ 5. There's an improvement you can build later on called the Bio Well, which does give bonus health. But that's it. No alien nest. So, goodbye, Explorer. I mean, I guess I could have guessed it was coming. There was a lot of aliens around. And this area here is clearly a wild area, right? Lots of forest, lots of xenomass, lots of alien nests. It's going to be pretty hectic over there. We'll probably need to build another Explorer at some point. Oh, here's something I could have done, actually. This soldier over here. Let's go and check this area. More fraxite! Because why not? Also, it would actually, if it's not landlocked, or rather ice-locked over here, we might want to drop a coastal city. In fact, here maybe. There'd be some overlap with Krabrost, but it might be totally fine. A city here, and then like a city here, maybe even on the coast on the east side. East side, represent. Anyway, let's build a paddock for the chitin. You can say chitin if you want. I could also say chitin, but then we'd both be wrong. I didn't die! Alright, let's get the hell out of there. I'm going to pop over to this tile. It's not near any alien nest. It's not on miasma. I can sit and heal. Excellent. The aliens, you know, they're not completely mindless. I haven't been bothering them, so they may have factored that in. Some coral over here, and indeed, not ice-locked. Go ahead and... No, we're not getting any extra vision over there. That's too bad. I'll go right back over this hill to keep an eye open on things. Quest decision. Because we built our trade depot. So, our trade depot can either give us +1 production or +1 energy. I personally value production more than energy, so I will go and do that. Excellent. Khalil, yes, you can make boreholes. You need a very late technology. You need planetary engineering way over here. Boreholes are a building, though. They are not a terrain improvement, and you do need level 8 in purity before you can build boreholes. But they do give you +5 production, which is really quite good. So if you are playing purity, you'll probably want to have a borehole in all your cities or something. I think the maintenance cost is only 1, which is not bad. You do have to put in quite a bit of production to build one. What was it, like 500? Which actually is quite a bit. So it looks like it'll pay for itself in 100 turns, but it'll be actually faster than that because there'll be multipliers. Oh! Hello, Australia.
The Commonwealth welcomes you.
Alright. So, not a surprise that we got someone a little bit closer. I'm a little bit worried that we might not get this titanium, which does not leave us with a whole lot of it. We may want to rush a city down in this general direction. Now, we can't settle near Adept Blue. That's interesting. So this is a great city spot, but we probably don't have to compete for it. There's still 2 unmet players, but the odds of one landing right here is pretty low. You know what? I have enough money. I'm going to go ahead and purchase an Explorer, which is not really something I do. And I'm going to move my soldier down. I'm going to check the coast over here. I think we may end up settling in this general area. Sort of claim the land, but also reserve that titanium, which we're going to need for some satellites. There's probably going to be better sources of satellites later on. Ah! Okay, so you can see here, he's late to the game. He landed on turn 29 or 28, but he started with combat rovers, so he's got more technology and a better unit. Combat rovers are slightly faster than soldiers, so they're basically the cavalry unit. And he's deciding that aggroing the aliens is a good idea. Ah, someone else has landed quite far away from me, which is good. That's the PAC. How's it going? Yeah, I think we're going to be colonizing south. Let me explore here for max speed.